Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Beyond Babbitt. It's Brian Anthony, your host. Let's talk here. A new Q drop. And it kind of sounds like Q is saying that this is the most dangerous time right here. There's some guys on the internet saying that the indictments are real. Fulcrum News. I believe he's not on YouTube anymore, but he says he held one of the indictments in his hand personally. Okay. So according to Q, the internet may be about to be taken down. Now, a lot of people are going to go crazy without the internet because you notice people walk down the street like zombies, phone in their hand, not paying attention to anything around them. They'd run a red light walking. They'd walk into a ditch, You've seen things like that. You can find things like that on the YouTube. Even people can't drive without being glued to their phones. So if the internet goes down, if all the social media platforms go down, if YouTube goes down, the main purpose would be to block information. You're not going to hear it on television. The revolution will not be televised, not on national MSM mainstream media television, because that is controlled. Operation Mockingbird is still in effect. It's being challenged currently, but the propaganda is still in effect. So what I'm going to do for you, I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you a breakdown and analysis of this World War III. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. No matter who's in office, no matter what happens, we can just pray, hope for the softest landing possible and for the least amount of collateral damage possible. So there are several parties. When we say World War, we mean World War. I had a subscriber to write and say that that person is leaving, so they're leaving the U.S. and going to Australia. You're not in the clear in Australia. You're in more danger in Australia, and I'll show you why here shortly. So let's size up the sides, shall team. You have two sides. In the words of Denzel Washington in Training Day, the stuff is chess, not checkers. You see what I'm saying? So let's look at some of the pros and cons and some of the in and outs, because everyone is starting to talk about the economic collapse now, the stock market crash that's coming, and World War III. But a lot of people are just regurgitating information and not airing it out, so to speak, if you will. Not giving you anything to go on. If, for instance, if the internet was to shut down or were to shut down, where would you get your information from? How would you be able to read between the lines of the stories that's being presented as to what's really going on? I had another subscriber write to me and say something like, they want martial law. They do want martial law. But martial law is going to be presented as more of a solution, as the savior. It'll be something like, report to the stadium for food, shower, and shelter. There'd be a curfew for everyone else, and for everyone else, you're on your own. So if the wolves, the gangs, the gangsters catch you out there, you're on your own. Or if law enforcement or military or the invading force that's trying to come catch you out there, you're on your own. That's the martial law. Just found out through Pastor Dial today that there's a city in Illinois that's telling its citizens you have a certain amount of time to turn in your firearms, so quote-unquote assault rifles. And if you don't turn them in, they're coming to get them. So they first say, oh no, we don't want your guns. There's no gun grab going on. Oh yeah, they're coming. And they want them. They want your guns. Okay, now why would in a time like this, why would they want to take away your guns? And I would say treason. There has to be an outside force, a country from the outside, calling for the confiscation of the guns, because if an invading force comes in and all the citizens are armed, you'd have a better chance of repelling that outside force. With no guns, you're sitting ducks. They're just going to come in and throw the chains on you. And that's that. And don't think it can't be happening, that it can't be done. Anything's possible. Okay, so let's break down the sides in this World War III that's coming up, possibly in a number of days, weeks, or months. I doubt if it's a number of years. So some are saying any time between now, which is just the first week in April 2018 through May 2019. It's a good estimate, but I would say probably sooner rather than later. I'm still sticking to my guns that the market, the economy, most likely is going to crash September 2018, and around the end of the month, around somewhere around September the 28th, to be exact. Okay, side A. We're going to break the war up right now because people are steady switching sides, going back and forth, trying to find out where they fit in. And so you could Google these people and watch the news on them and see how the war is starting to shape up. Okay? So side A, I'm just going to call this side the Allies. Okay? Side A is the United States of America, except California. And I know you've probably never heard that before, and you'll see why later, but I'm going to put California on the other side over there because they're really going against the grain and not pretty much trying to secede from the Union. It feels like they've been taken over by outside forces, by communist China and communist Russia and the Nazis and a lot of other people who you thought were extinct. Now, who else is on side A? On the Allies side, okay? A stands for Allies. Japan, Saudi Arabia and the OPEC nations, Israel, Vietnam, Taiwan, Malaysia, South Korea, NATO, except for Turkey. And I'm going to say Turkey is going to be on the other side over there. The European Union, except for Germany. They're going to be on the other side as well. The UK, Australia and New Zealand, and Canada. Those are important. Remember those names. Now these are those which should be on our side, but on the other side. Well, let's start with the Turkey. Look up the Ottoman Turks. They had a large Muslim empire that ruled for hundreds of years. And most recently, they were a part of the NATO nations, which now they've kind of seen to back off and go the other way. We had a Air Force base there, and now I believe we've been kicked off, or it's kind of quiet. They're not telling us why we're leaving our military bases in Turkey, but some serious disagreements and maybe some serious aggrievements going on to where we just can't stand each other anymore. It's what it's looking like. We're on the opposite side of a lot of issues now. So once an ally, now it's going to point towards adversary. Germany, same thing. Chancellor Angela Merkel. And Q is kind of reporting that Angela Merkel is the daughter of the Fuhrer. I do mean Adolf Hitler, yes. And his mother, I saw a picture of his mother, looks just like Angela Merkel, now and when she was a little girl. Matter of fact, there was a picture presented of Angela Merkel as a little girl standing beside Adolf Hitler. So, who knows? Check the bloodline, find out what's really going on. But that's what That's what has been presented. Mexico, they're not an ally of ours. They're on the other side. And California would be on that side as well. So who else is on that other side? Of course, Russia, China, North Korea, Venezuela, Syria, Iran, Iraq, Indonesia, and Pakistan. So it's going to involve the whole world. Now, there are a couple of nations who are on the fence right now. India and the Philippines. Now, these are nations that have a military, they have weapons. So basically, everybody on side A, they're pretty much going to buy weapons from the United States of America for the upcoming conflict. Or they may make them themselves. Everybody on side B, they're going to buy weapons from either China or Russia during the upcoming conflict, or they may make them themselves. India, in the past, has purchased weapons, military weapons, from Russia and from the U.S. They're on the fence. They don't know where they want to go. India by themselves cannot stand up against Russia. India by themselves cannot stand up against China. India by themselves cannot stand up against the U.S. They have to choose a side. Right now they're thinking, oh, they want to negotiate. Oh, we want this. Oh, we want that. Look, it's getting close. Yeah, sooner or later, you're going to be working for somebody else. Your land is going to be their land. You have to choose a side now. The Philippines, Duterte, same thing. You know, either you're going to buy the weapons from the U.S. or you're going to buy them from Russia and China. You're going to ride with the U.S. or you're going to ride with Russia and China. You have to make a stand. There's no in-betweens. You're going to have to be on one side or the other. Or you're going to be the property of someone else. You're going to be colonized, imperialized. Okay. And then the next major front in the war, besides Antarctica, is the entire continent of Africa. So watch how the major players, mainly the United States, Russia, and China, start weaving their way into the different states, shall I say, in Africa, countries in Africa, doing deals, offering their help. Oh, we can do this for you, we can do that for you. Oh, let's make this deal, let's make that deal. You know, but it's all about territory. It's all about checking the other person, trying to checkmate. It's not necessarily that they have an interest in the welfare or the well-being of the continent of Africa or the people in it. Of course, they want the minerals. Of course, they want the money, the wealth, the resources of the land. And the Chinese maybe even need the land. You know, they maybe even need to export citizens to occupy the land. And it's starting to happen. Starting with places like Kenya and Djibouti. And you're going to see them work their way all the way through Africa, staking claim. And before you know it, Africa's no longer going to be a place where you find, quote unquote, black people. No. Where are they going to go? Well, if they don't have any power, they're going to go into slavery. Other than that, they're going to have to flee. They're going to go all over the world. This is serious business, folks. Serious business. So keep that in mind, you know, because I want you to be able to, when you search the news, search these countries. Again, I'm going to name the sides. Side A, which would be the Allies, would be the United States except for California. It would be Japan, Saudi Arabia and the OPEC nations, Israel, Vietnam, Taiwan, Malaysia, South Korea, NATO, except for Turkey, the EU, which is the European Union, except for Germany, the UK, which is the United Kingdom, because I didn't name them with either NATO or the EU because they're doing the Brexit and we don't know where they stand, but we do know that they're a U.S. ally. And I didn't name France because they're EU and NATO. Okay, so Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. Okay, so look at the news. Look at these guys' economies. Look at their stock markets. Look at the news as what's going on, whether it's protest or whatever. Look at their military drills. Look at their spending on defense. You'll see they're lining up. Everyone's getting ready. They're lining up for this war. Side B again is Russia, China, North Korea, Venezuela, Turkey, Syria, Iran, Iraq, Indonesia, Germany, Mexico, California, and Pakistan, with India and the Philippines on the fence. No one is safe. The elite have underground bunkers that they think they can hide from the fallout. They have seed vaults. They have food stored away, water that they can hide out for 10 to 20 years underground without coming up while everybody else dies off. You know, the Bible speaks about a great war that's going to kill a third of mankind. It's 7 billion people on earth. If that war were to happen now, it'd be over 2 billion people. There's only 360 million in America. There's only like 500 million in the European Union. Something like only 500 million in the whole continent of Africa. You see? So you have 1 billion plus in China and 1 billion plus in India. And again, India and the Philippines are on the fence. It's not good. Keep your eye on Venezuela. They're bankrupt. Most of their citizens are fleeing the country. It's the world's largest oil reserve. They don't even have their own money or their own equipment to pump their own oil. Who's going to pump it? So you're not going to just leave it in the ground. They've broken in the zoo and eaten most of the animals in the zoo, if not all. They're eating their pets. They're escaping to Colombia and other nations. The hospitals are overwhelmed. All the systems are stressed out. Medical, everything. It's at a breaking point. So right now it goes to the highest bidder. And it's not going to be anyone aligned with the U.S. side. I believe the U.S. has sanctions on Venezuela as well, which is helping exacerbate that problem. So I wouldn't be surprised if Russian troops are posted in Venezuela or Chinese troops to flank the U.S. in case of a conflict. These are things you need to look for. And at the same time, the deep state is going down. There will be military tribunals. There will be people arrested and people prosecuted and people will get the death penalty. And they're frantic at this time. They will pull anything to try to get away. So be careful. I just want to break that news to you. If you want to know what's going on, look these countries up. Look up their news, the economic news, the war news, the things that are going on. You know now the sides. And if I were to name the political parties in the United States, because they are split deeply, the Republicans would be on the A side, ally side, for the most part. There are some Republicans that still work. It's spy versus spy. And the Democrats would be, for the most part, on the socialist side, on the communist side, on side B. With China, Russia, North Korea, and all of them, you would see them sticking up for Mexico and all of these countries on the other side. So pay attention to that. Don't think that this is crazy. Don't think that this is a game. It's the truth. It's the way it is. And according to Lindsey Williams, the elite are rigging everything around the world to make the U.S. stock market go up so high that it's going to be the only place to make money. Yeah, place your bets. It's going to go higher and higher and higher. It's going to fluctuate up and down, but overall it's going to go higher until it crashes all the way. And while all of that is going on, don't take your eye off of this war. China just had a massive military drill with over 40 ships in the South China Sea. And the U.S. has 2 aircraft carriers there ready to do the same thing as soon as they're done in the same place. Because the South China Sea is disputed between all those Asian countries I named and China. And China has aggressively decided, no, they're ours now. So that's why those other nations are aligned with the U.S., help us keep our land. So it's strategic for both of us. There's something like over, I heard the statistics of like $5 trillion worth of trade pass through those waters every day. Whoever controls that controls the purse strings. The money, it's all about the money. It's all about survival. That's what the war is for. That's what these strategic alliances are for. Who are you aligned with? Yeah, physically, but more spiritually. Because there is something after this. For what does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? With that, I'm out.